Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Michelle. Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary and others, I would like to speak today about a new paradigm in medicine and healthcare. I'm not a doctor of medicine. I'm not a molecular scientist. I'm a psychologist. So I've had 40 or 50 years working in investment and in the emerging markets. I'm 72 years old, and I found a new lease of life, quite literally, in this investment that I'm involved in. You want me to press that button? We're waiting for my slides to come in. Put a lot of effort into those slides. Oh, there's one up there already. That's a good sign. I'll go back one. So what I want to talk about today, my friends, is regenerative medicine. So using your own cells to heal yourself with the promise of living a longer and more productive life with less burden on the economy. Imagine a time, and it's not too far away, when in your 70s and your 80s, you can go down to the tissue bank where stem cells have been cryopreserved to be infused with your own activated stem cells to address and even cure dementia, heart disease, osteoarthritis, and in some cases even cancer. Or just to be infused with your earlier harvested stem cells that are now being reactivated to live a longer and happier and productive life. That's what I want to talk about today. So, I wanted to talk about three things very briefly: my own journey, and in development and international banking, but particularly moving towards regenerative health and why at my age. And it's the next topic that is about that, which is health and aging. What we know about health and aging today is quite disturbing. You go along to a dinner party and there'll be some people around my age in the room today, and you find yourself having an organ recital, and you suddenly or talking about how many drugs are you on, or how many drugs are you on. It's so typical now. And it would just be so good to be able to be more alive with that and to be able to have some answers to that. So, an opportunity to make a difference. I'm an investor, and I'm going to talk about a client's opportunity, Simpler Health, who we've invested in, and the invitation to invest in an amazing project in Bali in regenerative health using Japanese technology with the support of the Australian government. That's my intention today. So very briefly, my journey started with law and psychology. And as I said in my opening, I'm not a molecular scientist or a medical doctor, I'm a psychologist. And then an early career in investment banking. And my slide is not working again, where I've got a picture of, here it comes. So there's my journey. Starts with law and psychology, then it goes, but it comes to PwC, and usually you have to be proud of that. And now I'm finding that's being less proud of that, but I had a tremendous 14 years as partner and managing partner in PwC, so I enjoyed that a lot. Could you keep the slides going down the back there for me? So after PwC, I was headhunted to join a company called Cardno. In fact, it was a company called ACEL, which we listed along with Cardno in a listing in 2004. And that it was international development, so it was working in developing countries. In the introduction, Michelle kindly said that I came from Amnesty is one of the organisations that I've been involved in for many years. And it was a real privilege to serve as their last chair of their council. And the human rights, the social justice, alongside of having the opportunity to work in this area and actually invest in this area and make a difference in this area. So Cardno listed, as probably many of you know. I got removed from CEO position after 8 years, and I started doing M&A in the sector and really got to know a number of companies that were moving in the sector of international development, but also finally into regenerative health. And last year, I took the position of chair of a company called DAI. DAI Capital is a 5,500 people, $1 billion turnover, international development organisation. I'm trying to get it to come up on my slide by pressing the button, but it's not. Anyway, that's DAI. Are you going to give me a new one? Yeah. There you go. There it is. So now I'm chair of DAI. You can see that. I guess it complemented, for me, it complemented bringing those two areas together. So here's a few things that I would like to tell you about health and ageing. And I'm doing it again, health and ageing. The top green button. Okay, thank you. That helps. Okay, so as you get old, you suffer from dementia and cognitive decline. I'm pressing away at this button. It's not doing anything. Thank you. Young people. So the average age expectancy when people die in the world today is 69 to 72, my age. So 69 for men, 72 for women. And Australia, it's 81, so I've got another 9 years to go. But I kind of like a little bit more than that. So the leading cause of early death, heart disease. I mean, do you know in the US that a person dies of coronary heart failure every 33 seconds? And do you know there are 200 million people walking the earth today who've got terminal coronary heart disease and don't know it? It creeps up on you. And cancer's the other one. Cancer, 2 in 5 of us will experience cancer personally in our lives. Now, everybody here knows about cancer and knows the effect of cancer and knows the pain of cancer, right? I lost my mother when she was 64 from smoking cancer. Everybody's got those stories to tell. The other's dementia, and it's a major one as we sit around our dinner parties, us young guys. 400,000 people a year get diagnosed with dementia in Australia. And they're predicting by 2050, it'll be 600,000 people every year. Diabetes. 1 million Australians suffer from diabetes. And I guess it's a horrible disease for people. I'll tell a couple of stories in a moment about diabetes and some cures with stem cells for diabetes. But osteoarthritis is the one that gets a lot of us in this room. 1 in 7 Australians will suffer from osteoarthritis in their life. It's all fairly glib picture. I apologise if it's felt like that as I've said it. But the money spent on healthcare obviously increases exponentially with the ageing population. So let's take a look at the future. Regenerative medicine. Now, the definition of regenerative medicine is it's a process of replacing, engineering or regenerating human cells and cell tissues or organs to establish normal function or re-establish normal function. So allopathic medicine is what most of us know about. It's drugs that just mask the issues, right? Or it's surgery. Regenerative medicine is far less invasive, far safer, and far more proven in the world than people realise today. I'll give you a couple of examples. Across the developing world, which is the world that I know about through my work, every 30 seconds, a person has a leg amputated for diabetes, every 30 seconds, through a lack of blood flow, basically, through the extremities. My colleague, or my dear friend, Dean Kilby, who's here today, CEO of Simpler Health, told me of a study that he was doing in Fiji, I guess 10 years ago, where they did a study and found out that 1 in 3 Fijians have type 2 diabetes. And what they did was a trial using stem cells extracted from the patient's fat, isolated in the laboratory, reactivated and injected back into the injured foot. And in their case, I mean, that was a fairly small sample, but over 50% of those patients avoided amputation. This is really significant if you think of the developing world and equal access to healthcare. In another study, a Japanese study, which I'm going to move on to Japan now, a Japanese study where using autologous immune cell therapy, they took 200 millilitres of blood from a patient, isolated the stem cells in the laboratory and reinfused those activated cells into the patients over 6 months. This is in a study about stage 1 and stage 2 cancer, so very early stage cancers. Now, that study showed that 1,300 patients in this study who were in remission from cancer. So they went into the study already in remission. There was 0 reported recurrence in stage 1 and 2 solid form cancers over 10 years. That's significant. And that's the sort of stuff we're dealing with now. We've mentioned Japan. So let's go to Japan. Japan, Abe, the Prime Minister, saw the incidence of cancer growing exponentially in the population, with a declining population and the cost to the health system. At the same time, and you probably know this history, Professor Shinwa Yamanaka won the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2012 for his stem cell research. And Japan passed the Regenerative Health Bill in 2014. What they did was they allowed, what that bill allowed was, after they had proven stage 1 and stage 2 trials, they had proven that the stem cell therapies being used didn't hurt you, didn't kill you, were safe, then you can commercialise them and continue to use the Japanese regulatory system. So after they're declared safe, a place like Australia, it's all these things are available, but you can't get them because the TGA hasn't approved them, and it'll be 10 or 20 years before they do. And that goes back to what happened in America with the moral outrage that people were using embryonic stem cells, because Yamanaka's study was on embryonic, but it's not embryonic stem cells. Nobody using that. It didn't work. So Professor Kilby tells me. What they use now is cord blood cells, which are equally as strong. So Japan poured billions of dollars into regenerative healthcare and research and supported commercialisation. So in fact, cord blood's regularly used, and Japan maintained that regulatory system, the only country in the world to have that sort of rigour for safe procedures, regulated and controlled. So what are we up to? DAI, my new company, has won a job with Simpler Health, which is an Australian biotech and regenerative healthcare group, to build a 200-bed treatment facility in Bali, Indonesia. We managed to get a $700,000 grant from the Australian government, from DFAT, to do a feasibility study of this hospital. And we found a special economic zone in Senur that gets tax incentives, using international doctors, using overseas regulatory systems into Bali, Indonesia. And so what we did is we went and brought the Japanese technology. We spent about 6 months on this, bringing the Japanese parties to build the technology into Bali. And there was an agreement now between the Japanese Minister of Health and the Indonesian Ministry of Health. And by agreement, they're building this project. And we're also supported, very importantly, by the leading immunologist of Kyoto University in Japan. And it's being built next to the Bali International Hospital, which is run or invested in by the Mayo Clinic. So it's pretty exciting. So I'll get down to the pitch now. I'm pitching on behalf of Simpler International. So this is the artist impression of the building that we're building. This was a site visit to Bali we did recently. Dean Kilby's the one sitting on his own there, and then we're in different groups there. There's a major hotel next to it. We've got the Bali Clinic. It's 9 hectares. It's all about medicine and regenerative medicine with the Mayo Clinic's backing. And when I was travelling back on my very full Jetstar flight the other day, I realised that more people are travelling now, and this is a fact, more people are travelling now than they were pre-pandemic to Bali. Bali's a beautiful place. It's a place of healing just in itself, a beautiful place populated as it is. So cell therapy, so immune cell therapy, mesenchymal stem cell therapy, and also cryopreserving stem cells. So it's an enormous opportunity to affect a safe, regulated environment to improve the health and strengthening of your immune systems, can help prevent cancer development in healthy individuals, and an opportunity to invest in this project, which you're very welcome to join us. We're investing in it. So it's real. It's real. We've formed a unit trust, an Australian regulated unit trust. Often people like to invest in Australian companies. Mills Oakley have helped us to do that. And then we're searching for an anchor investor for US $25 million for the build. It's a real opportunity. In conclusion, the Japanese regulatory approved healthcare facility in Bali will be the first of its kind in the world outside of Japan. It's governed by a strategic partnership with Kyoto University in a special economic zone with tax incentives, international doctors, the international hospital is supported by the Mayo Clinic, with a local Indonesian partner who's running a medical tourism business where, for Indonesia alone, $2 billion worth of medical tourism leaves Indonesia to go to Thailand and Sydney and Singapore. Want to recapture a portion of that, but also for Australians going to Indonesia, which is why the Australian government has supported it, and people from all over the world. It will be one of the most advanced regenerative medicine destinations on the planet. I invite you today to join me on this mission, a passion to make a difference and to live to 100 happily, healthily, without being a burden to our society's health system. Thank you very much.